on the ground, it is not very strong at this moment. It is not dragging things aloft at this moment per this correlation coefficient here, or debris ball, if that is easier to understand. That lets us know that radar is picking up something a little larger than hail and a little larger than rain. So once again, Anne Arundel County, Prince George's County, and portions of Howard County, you are all being clipped by this polygon here. It's a little awkwardly situated, but you're never going to have an ideal situation here. You can see a little bit of a hook starting to form near White Oak and Hillendale, just to the north of 495. This is to the south of portions of 29 and Fairland. Fairland, I really want you to get into your safe space. And once again, just as a refresher, that is an interior room that is away from doors and windows and the very inner space of your home that is as far away from the outside of your home as you can get. If you have a lower level, that is also a safe space, preferably in a corner, not necessarily underneath a staircase. Sometimes that isn't the safest spot, and you can see the tornado safety here. Go to the lowest floor. Basement is very ideal, but not everybody has that opportunity. So an interior room with no windows is your best bet. An interior hall, also a really good spot to be. Cover yourself with blankets, anything soft to protect you against debris and help to keep you in that tight space as well and protect your head. A helmet, never a bad idea to put in there as well. Monitor weather reports, have that phone on charge, make sure you have a weather radio or some way to receive updates. And this is, once again, me telling you, seek shelter immediately. Right now, this is radar indicated, but radar is giving a very good indication that we have a little bit of a hook here and some rotation. So we're going to go into a few more communities here. Quaint Acres, this is just to the west of you. Well, you're to the west of it. It's just to the east of you. East of Springbrook, this is to the south and to the east, and we're going to look at storm relative velocity here. That coupling is starting to separate a little bit more. I think they're going to allow this to expire a little bit sooner than 9:15, but we're going to stick with it until it is allowed to expire. And checking in with the National Weather Service here to make sure they're not trying to communicate with us. Okay, and the National Weather Service is also saying the far southeastern portions of Montgomery County is also being clipped by this, along with Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, and Howard. It's just a little hard to see here on the graphic, but just so you know those county names. Maryland 295 at Maryland 32 and 295 North, you're seeing those hazard lights. You're going to be introduced first by wind and rain. And if this tornado does touch the ground, which once again, I do see a little bit of a coupling here, but it's not a super strong indication of rotation. So we'll keep a close eye on that. It's still radar indicated at this point, but this gives me a little bit of hope that maybe this, once again, is just radar indicated. We are getting this vibrant ping here, which does suggest some high winds and maybe that this rotation could get a little closer to the ground here. But we're seeing less of a signature as this progresses forward. So I know it's not always ideal, but I'm going to put this in motion just so I can see the history of it and the formation of it. It was a little bit more organized to the south of Hillendale and White Oak. Now that it's pushed a little further to the north, this polygon has shortened. That's good. That's good. That means White Oak, Hillendale, Adelphi, you guys are okay. You are okay to come out of your safe space for now. White Oak, you know it pretty well at this point. Still have that safe space in mind because Mother Nature is not through with us just yet. Burtonsville, you're included in this. Once again, still looking at North Laurel, South Laurel, and Laurel proper. It does look like Kent and Queen Anne's joining the party. There is a warning until 9:30. And of course, I say party sarcastically here. We are talking about a lot of activity, and here they are. Off towards the eastern shoreline, just to the west of Centerville, to the north of Queenstown, Stevensville, Highway 301, we are dealing with another tornado warning. Once again, radar indicated it's really messy with this rain here. So we're going to look into the system a little bit more. I don't see a strong coupling, but once again, it's very messy due to all of this rain. Let's look at lightning as well, see if there's an indication of a little bit of strength. Most of that lightning is just to the south and to the east of Arnold and to the east of Annapolis. So this is a very odd-shaped polygon here. Once again, it's spanning from Stevensville. Let's look at a few communities here and put it on pause and take a little lightning off of here. This includes Bridgeview, Stevensville, Bridgeport, Bay City, Baldwin Acres, Mattapique Estates, Normans. It does look like it includes Chesapeake Estates, and Craney Creek Estates. Pardon me with some of this pronunciation. If I do not get it right the first time, I promise I will look into it and I will get it right the second time. Overton, Hickory Thicket, and Bull Rock, we are looking at it just very much clipping you off towards the very western corner of you here. So, 2 tornado warnings. Once again, this system is not through with us just yet. As I said earlier, we had a little bit more instability on the eastern shoreline. It does look like these storms survived the passage over the bay and are regrouping off towards the eastern shoreline where we saw some of that heat still linger. Now, as far as Fairland, I do want to mention rain is really a concern with this. If we have a thunderstorm on top of already a flash flood warning, we're going to see some high rainfall rates with this. This is going to cause a lot of issues. And I see, yes, this picture here. Look at that sign. Look at damage. Can you guys tell me in my ear where this is located? 97 and 32. Okay, you see people traveling here. You can see debris on the roadway. This will be for later confirmation. We don't know if this was from straight line winds. We don't know if this was from strong winds associated with a thunderstorm or anything having to do with that rotation that we have been seeing throughout the night. So you're seeing people come around this bend, portions of 97 and I believe 32. That sign snapped in half. Those winds are powerful, and you can see the evidence of it here. So please, please be safe. We're still seeing people travel. I think a lot of whatever caused this damage has moved because I'm not seeing a whole lot of rain. I'm not seeing a whole lot of bending of the leaves, and I don't see a whole lot of brake lights or hazard lights. I'm not saying you are in the clear in this area, but from this visual in real time, it does look like this system is off towards a different corridor at the moment. So if we go back to radar here and talk a little bit more about the mess that is Maryland and its current situation as far as thunderstorm activity and tornadic activity, everything seems to be radar identified at this moment. And we have not gotten any updates just yet from the National Weather Service. We know they've been very busy since really the top of the 7 o'clock hour, and even then, before then, around 5 o'clock is when they issued that tornado warning. So as we talk about radar here, I'm going to take a moment to give it to Kelly. I think she has something that she wants to point out.
Looks like we're getting an update on the power outages, Abigail. Earlier, it was very, very small numbers, still small and compared to what we've seen in storms past, but right now we got 59 active outages with about 305 passengers impacted. Actually, just got an update to that. 60 active outages with 488 customers impacted. And just from taking a look at that wind damage from what we saw earlier, and the radar looks a lot more active again as compared to when it had died down a little bit when we went out before. But look at it now. It is really hitting the eastern shore. And this was the area that you had indicated earlier in the week that we could potentially see more damage or issues or impact with the storm that was headed this way. Taking a look right now at 295 and 32. Looks like the rain is heavy. You still see the traffic moving, but slowly. And this is an indication of the areas that we see being impacted by the tornado warning at this point.
Yeah, you can see traffic. I mean, it's Friday night. People want to go out. People are trying to get home from work. People are trying to head out for their destination for the weekend. We were talking about the warm sector earlier on, and what I mean by that is just a surge of warm air associated with a frontal system. This strong low pressure system, which has wreaked havoc on West Virginia, Virginia, and now Maryland, is what has stirred up all this thunderstorm and tornadic activity. Now, when we talk about warming and instability, we had that towards the eastern shore and the southwestern tier of the state, especially as we went into the 5 o'clock hour. A lot of that heat is diminished thanks to rainfall, and you can see that difference between Thurmont, Poolesville, Clinton, and then heading over the bay, Centerville, as well as Denton and Easton. There's a big difference in those temperatures, upwards of 8 degrees, which may not seem like much, but this is a feeding ground. This is fuel for those thunderstorms and those tornadoes to continue to push through. And we mentioned it earlier when we were talking about, the possibility of this revamping up, or round 2, if you will, going into the evening, because Mother Nature, has some human qualities. She is a creature of habit. She likes the warm things. She likes the instability. She wants to tap into these things to be able to produce these thunderstorms, and she's doing that in real time. We can see that here with these tornado warnings, and a little bit of a signature off towards this tri or quad county alert here, which has been condensed but still active until 9:15 here. This tornado warning, which includes Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, portions of Howard County, and Montgomery County. Sometimes these polygons are situated in a weird position where it's clipping multiple, and it's just because of the location of these thunderstorms. Now we're going to do a quick check, once again, storm relative velocity and base velocity here. We don't need to get too much into the nitty-gritty, but I'm not seeing a strong indication of rotation here. That coupling that we saw earlier, and I can scrub back here actually to show you a little bit more, if it'll let me, of some of that coupling, the reds and greens battling it out, and that is broken apart. That's why the National Weather Service has condensed it a little bit, because all of that circulation that was previously over White Oak and Adelphi, that has moved to the north and to the east, and it's heading into some more stable air. We had thunderstorms and we had a tornado warning there earlier, and so it has a little less fuel to tap into. Still though, we are seeing a little bit of the pings here in that vibrant pink color for some strong winds pushing through. I'm not seeing a strong indication of a hook or inverted, anything like that. We're just dealing with a messy system at this point. Let me see if I can see any lightning, but I do expect most of that lightning, and I'm not seeing much here at all, to be on the outside of this storm. So I think they're going to let this expire at 9:15, if not any sooner. But until then, to err on the side of caution, Fairland, I want you to stay in your safe place. South Laurel, North Laurel, Burtonsville, stay in there until at least 9:15, or until someone gives you the all clear. Either me, the National Weather Service, whoever you are getting your alerts from.
And we want to remind people the best thing to do in terms of that safe place that you're talking about, Abigail, is to seek shelter. Go to the basement. Go to the lowest floor of your home. Go to an interior room. Definitely no windows rather. Cover yourself with blankets and a pillow to protect against any possible flying debris, and make sure you keep an eye and monitor the weather reports and updates, because with a weather situation like this, it is definitely changing very, very quickly. Looking at this damage right here from, what do we say, 97 and 3?
Or 32.
32? Definitely an indication that some wind has blown through there. Earlier reports, the wind didn't appear to be that strong. Also, we really didn't see a lot of outages or situations at that point that would indicate a very wind-driven event. But again, the storm is still happening. We're still covering it very closely and monitoring what's coming in. In terms of pictures or videos that we've received online from people, really not a lot at all, Abigail.
We haven't gotten a whole lot just yet. It's still early in the night. I think we'll get some more reports after this round here. and I think some more will start to filter in from the 7 o'clock hour. It takes a while for reporters and for anybody qualified to actually get out in the field. They need to make sure it's safe. They need to take pictures. They need to validate any claims that they see out there, and it's a process. So the National Weather Service and emergency services will come together and give us a report and give us updates from what they're seeing from the public, from what they see themselves, and they will tag pictures in our National Weather Service chat here. And so far I'm not seeing much, but I do want to point out here, this was considered at the very beginning of it a rain event, mostly just a rain event. And you're going to see these tan colors and these green colors here and numbers beside it. We have 2 flash flood warnings until later on this evening, and within at least one of them, we're seeing rainfall rates of 2+ in 2 different locations, just to the south of North Laurel and near Columbia. We're seeing excessive rainfall push through this area for a second time. And so please be mindful, check your sump pump. If you are in a flood prone area, although it's not the greatest place to be at the moment, I do not recommend this for North Laurel, Laurel, Fairland, or Beltsville. But if you're a little further to the north near Columbia, or even in the city proper, or to the south and west of the city proper, I would suggest maybe not being in your basement or in a flood prone area, because this is also a concern. We're having a battle in the sky and the battle in the ground with rain and then this tornadic activity. So if you're not in the red polygon, I would not suggest going to the lowest tier of your home just yet. I would check on it and make sure that no rain or water is pooling in, but that is not necessarily the best place to be right now. As we look once again at radar, and I clear some things here because I don't see anything from the National Weather Service as far as updates at the moment, taking it back to reflectivity and looking at these systems. Stevensville had a little bit more rotation, at least of an indication earlier. You're seeing a little bit of that coupling right over Stevensville and Highway 301, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of lightning associated with it. That's further to the north and to the east, closer to Queenstown. And storm relative velocity isn't pinging those vibrant colors. So I think we can say this is starting to diminish. Still, err on the side of caution. We need to do that all night. It is better to be safe than sorry. Stay in your safe location, especially Stevensville proper, because this is right over you, and portions of Highway 301.
We've got crews out in Baltimore City as well as Middle River, currently right now by the harbor, and basically at that point, which is good for the folks there, that really all they're seeing is barely a drizzle. And I don't know if this is something that we could see if the storm is moving, or maybe the folks in that area of our state might be spared this time around.
It looks like most of the system is tracking from the southwest to the northeast. So while a lot of communities to the north and east are dry or only getting a little bit of this heavy rain, this is not the end of the system. We're going to see multiple rounds of this, and more than anything else, this will be a rain heavy event. We are under a flood watch until around 6 a.m. on Saturday. We're under a tornado watch until around midnight tonight, rolling into early Saturday morning, depending on how you define the midnight hour. But we are looking at excessive rain off towards Eldersburg. You see that vibrant pinkish or what would you call that, fuchsia color there on your screen, and we can zoom in here right along the I-70 corridor heading to the east near Milford Mill and Granite, just to the east of Cooksville, near Ellicott City, Columbia, Elkridge, Arbutus, Randallstown, and Woodlawn. You are up next. You are not seeing a whole lot of activity just yet, but that rain is coming, and so you need to be mindful of this if you have any plans for the evening. And Woodlawn and Arbutus and Elkridge especially, you are under this flash flood warning until around 11 this evening. So although you may not be getting activity now, there's nothing to say that it won't move towards your area later on. And once Friday's batch is over, we have Saturday's batch to worry about. Not so much with the severe potential, but more so because more rain is pushing through.
And we're speaking about rain. Mayor Brandon Scott sending out a flash flood warning as well for the city until about 11:15 tonight. And, you know, we give these tips all the time and people think, you know, that's common sense. A lot of time it's not followed when people are driving, but the mayor is urging people to obviously reduce your speed when you're driving. Do not drive into the water. What is that expression?
Turn around, don't drown.
Turn around, don't drown. And also to stay informed, you know, by listening, tuning in to information that we're providing in terms of, because Abigail is watching the system very, very closely, from all the radar to the rotations, the direction the storm is coming, the severity, to kind of keep you safe and to keep you prepared. And again, if we are in a tornado warning, best for you to be in the basement or an area that is safe for you and your family.
And I'm going to say, Fairland, here, you are in the clear. That tornado warning has been allowed to expire right at 9:15. They let it live for that duration just to be safe. That rotation started to break up around 9:08, 9:09. There was still a little bit of a coupling there, but as it pushed further to the north and to the east, it lost its momentum. It lost its instability, that factor that it needs to sustain life as far as this tornadic activity goes. We're still seeing it near Stevensville. It has been condensed, though, I believe, since a little bit earlier, maybe. It still looks like a shark polygon at this point, but we're going to look inside of it. And there's still a little coupling. It's no longer right over Stevensville. It's pushed a little further to the south and to the east of 301, Highway 301. But that coupling is still there. And so this severe thunderstorm warning is until 9:30. With good reason here. The National Weather Service is doing a little bit more than erring on the side of caution. There's still an indication of rotation with this. Now, as far as correlation coefficient, which helps us see if anything is thrown aloft outside of rain and maybe a little bit of hail, I'm not seeing anything suggesting that. So I'm hoping that this is radar indicated and that we are just seeing rotation in the clouds, which radar will pick up on. And that's why we term it radar indicated. But as far as severity, this one, the Quad County, let's call it, polygon over here near Fairland, White Oak earlier in the day, to the south of Columbia, that has been allowed to expire. You can come out of your safe space, but do so carefully. There may still be downed trees, there may still be power lines. Assess your surroundings and make sure everything is all clear.
And you talk about the downed trees, the downed power lines. That is something that, as you said earlier, we need to be concerned about, be aware of, because of the amount of rain that we've gotten this week in such a short period of time. And you have to appreciate the air of the on side of caution from the National Weather Service, because just 2 weeks ago, we were in a very, very similar situation where we had a Dundalk had a tornado there. And so obviously you would rather be safe rather than sorry. So for people who feel like this is a waste of time, that's not happening, that's not necessarily true.
And we were talking about earlier the slogan that everybody knows, turn around, don't drown.
Well, I didn't.
Yes, but I mean, for the most part, it is a common phrase.
Yes.
And I do want to say to that, I've driven in water and didn't know it. It's because it was dark outside and my low beams were on, and that reflectivity back at me just looked like a little bit of water on the roadway. I did not know that the whole road was submerged. So do not feel like this is just like a little nursery rhyme to be brushed off. It happens to everyone. And even if there's just a little bit of ponding and pooling, you do not know what's underneath it. The water could have washed out the road. There could be a tree trunk there. There are a lot of unknown factors. And so, like the National Weather Service tonight, it is best just to err on the side of caution, turn around, seek an alternate route. It is always best to get to your destination safely. Eventually, once I realized there was water on the roadway, I turned around and I went back the same way that I came. But it sneaks up on you. And believe me, I understand. But it's best that you stay safe. And as we talk about this now primary rain event, it is something to be mindful of. Now we're going to look here. This has been condensed. Stevensville, you are no longer in the bullseye of this tornado warning. It's to the south of Rock Hall. It's to the north of Queenstown. It's in Overton, Hickory Thicket, and Bull Rock.
Bully Rock.
Bully Rock, thank you. Bully Rock. These are the areas that it is currently located over. This is a lot of rain, and so radar is having a tough time seeing if there's a lot of rotation associated with it, and there's a little bit. It's not overly impressive. It's just to what I'm seeing as my interpretation here, just to the south and west of Overton. So Overton, I need you in your safe space, even if this is radar indicated. This is heading to the north and to the east. It's not a strong coupling, but there's still rotation associated with it and a lot of rain. That lightning has moved to the north, and so that's an indication that this may be allowed to expire right at that 9:30 mark when it is expected to expire. So just a heads up there. That's just for Queen Anne's at this point, and this is expected to expire at 9:30 p.m.
And as you said, it indicated that it looked like that system is breaking up, so we could have an expiration of that tornado warning at that point. Not as such strong rotations as you were saying earlier in terms of looking at that area on a map?
Correct. So as it is pushed further to the north and to the east, it's hard to see here with radar, but it moved over water, and water helps to break apart these systems. It didn't have a strong leg to stand on at the very beginning. There was a coupling, there was a little bit of rotation within those winds aloft, but as it pushed further to the north and to the east, something is battling it, and it looks like it is breaking apart. That lightning has diminished and moved a little outside of that polygon, and we are seeing, once again, a polygon start to condense. So not as widespread of an area as before. We're seeing a history of these systems being strong to the south. The main area of concern for tornadic activity, Virginia and the Carolinas. But you know what? We've had tornadic activity in West Virginia, and Maryland. So just because we're outside of the parameters of the bullseye, what have you, it doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. We're going to still see activity because we have the right ingredients. It's the fact of the matter, if those ingredients cooperate and allow that rotation to form, whether we're going to get a tornado warning or not. But I will say, compared to 2 weeks ago, this looks like a less severe, or at least a less impactful at this moment, system. We've gotten a lot less reports at this point from the history of this system. And so that bodes well moving into the future, but we still need to keep a close eye on this. This system can overperform. Right now it's dying off, which is good, but this was the second round on already rain-cooled grounds for a few of us.
And last 2 weeks ago rather, that event, a lot more wind involved with that storm in terms of trees down. We had tractor trailers tipped over, and Amazon parking lot, a lot of damage in Dundalk. Again, we talked to folks today who were still cleaning up from that event, the tornado that's touched down there, and cleaning up in preparation for what this storm might have brought. And it appears like that area not nearly as impacted this storm from what they saw a couple of weeks ago, and that is a good thing.
Yes, it does look like they're getting a little bit of a break. Rain is certainly heading their way, but a lot of that lightning is near Reisterstown. And I think if it continues on the northeastern track, it'll clip 83 before it heads to Pennsylvania. Further to the south near Annapolis, I will say I haven't seen a huge history of any bowing or straight line wind with this. So this hasn't been a huge wind factor for the storms pushing through. That's not to say that the ground wasn't already saturated and a tree was already dying and just needed that extra push. These winds are still strong enough to warrant a tornado warning and severe thunderstorm warnings, which winds is the primary criteria outside of hail to issue those thunderstorm warnings. So winds are still very much a factor. 2 weeks ago, that was more of a factor. I'm more concerned with rain with this system, especially as it pushes through, and a lot of wet roadways out there, which is never good for high travel times like we're seeing here.
Apparently, I just talked to reporter Raven Payne, who's out in Harbor East. A couple minutes ago, she said it was drizzling. Now it is pouring.
Yep.
They're getting their share of the rain, so I don't know what that means in terms of the system is concerned, but it is raining very, very hard in the downtown area now.
And I do want to say, with Raven being out there and getting some video, hopefully doing a live element later on, or at least getting us some video for later on, if there's lightning in that area, she will pack up shop and she will head back to the station because it is not a safe condition to be out in. I say this because We hold the same standards for our reporters as we do you. We do not want you out when there is lightning and severe potential. So we want to keep you safe. We want to keep our reporters safe. This looks like downtown, and there is just a cloud of moisture just hanging over us. That rain is coming down. That traffic is still heavy, as you can see with all those headlights there, but it's hard to see out there, and we want everybody to be safe. This is not a time to travel. Our reporter, Raven, is stationary. I had a little pep talk with her before she left, and I said, listen, if you see lightning, if you hear any indication of any severe weather heading your way, please get indoors. Please get in the vehicle, whatever you can do, because that is paramount. That's what it is. For them, for us, for everyone. We want you guys to be safe. Thankfully, we don't see a whole lot of lightning outside of just to the east of Eldersburg and to the south of Westminster. Let's look a little further to...
It looks like hail, doesn't it?
It does. That looks like sideways rain.
Sideways rain.
Yes. If it was hail, I think we would see a little bit more of it coming straight down because hail is pretty heavy.
Okay.
But we do see a little bit of bouncing. So,
Yeah.
yep.
And
I
this
think
is
that's fair to say hail.
Inner Harbor. And you know, I would say that your forecasting was very, very right on point, because earlier in the day we had the Orioles, a game that was scheduled for 7:05. They bumped it back to 4:30, and Yep, look at Camden Yards. So it's a good thing that they did bump that game back. Did they win or lose, Siobhan? Do you know? Producer talking to us in our ear. I think they were playing the White Sox tonight. But also, we had a parade that was scheduled for Annapolis, Pride event, and that was canceled as well, either today or tomorrow, but just in anticipation of the weather that was coming this weekend. But as you can see, actually the Ravens won. Not the Ravens, excuse me, the Orioles won.
One of the two teams, right?
Yes, yeah,
got
the
two
other
of them.
bird, the other bird. So they won. But as you see, the rain is really coming down, and that game probably still would have been going on if it had started at 7:05.
And it looks like some dime-sized hail with that, and that's just, you know, a viewing analysis here. Looking at the National Weather Service here, once again, pardon the voice, it has been through the ringer tonight, but we are looking at another rain band, a heavy rain band moving through the Baltimore area, and that's what's helping to produce some of this hail. It's not large enough to deem a severe thunderstorm warning, but it's still something to be mindful of because that can cause some damage. But it does look like they're still monitoring a slow-moving area of moderate rain back over far western Maryland. And hard to tell actually where the track is going to reach for northeastern Maryland, but this just tells us that we have another batch of heavy rain pushing through and maybe a few more flash flood warnings coming down the pipe as we look towards the National Weather Service. I do also want to say we've been clearing warnings just because we're losing some of that instability. We are gaining some stability. And you're going to see this camera pan back and forth while I'm talking here. But some of those technical issues earlier, some of the warnings were still up when the National Weather Service allowed it to expire. I believe Howard County was one of those. Only a minute or two difference, but that means a lot for someone hunkering down in their interior closet. So just bear with us. Sometimes our system is just a few seconds to a few minutes behind the National Weather Service, but all in all, they have been really good, the National Weather Service, about issuing watches and warnings this evening. They've been really on top of it. I think they're going to allow this over here in Stevenson, just to the north of it, as Stevensville, to expire because I don't see a whole lot of energy associated with it. Seeing just a little bit of coupling there. A lot of that lightning has diminished.
And that was supposed to expire coming up at 9:30 here.
So we got about 50 seconds. And we'll see if they just put a severe thunderstorm warning tag on it, if winds reflect it. But I think they're going to allow that to expire. So it looks like this is mostly just a rain event at the moment, but we all know how quickly that can change.
I was going to say, and it seems like the rain bands are coming through.
Yes.
Maybe we're feeling it and seeing it from the Baltimore City crews that are reporting for us, but I mean, from nothing to a downpour.
It happens quickly. These systems aren't fast moving in nature, and you're going to see that here when I put it into motion. They're not moving quickly, which does not bode well for flood-prone places, because this means it's lagging and it is slowly dumping a lot of rain on an extended period of an area. So this causes flooding issues. This is the concern, and the mayor touched on it, as well as the National Weather Service, with this flash flood warning for the city of Baltimore. It can overpower or overwhelm some of the drainage systems. This can cause a backflow. So as we talk about rain being a primary